Between November 1944 and May 1945, Japanese weapons landed in 6 American states. No newspaper reported it. No warning was issued. 6 people died. The government's decision to say nothing was, by every documented measure, correct. In 1945, the United States Office of Censorship distributed a single memorandum to every newspaper, radio station, and wire service in the country. The instruction was 4 words in practice: do not report this. Not the landings. Not the recoveries. Not the ordnance lying armed in American forests. Nothing. The reasoning was operational and defensible. Japan was launching the balloons with no confirmation, no feedback, and no way to know the jet stream was working. If American news organizations published nothing, Japan would conclude the program had failed. The press complied completely. Military teams recovered the balloons in silence. No word entered public reporting. The silence was not an oversight. It was a structure. And it worked exactly as designed. In November 1944, Japan began launching what its military designated the Fugo winship weapon. Each device was a hydrogen-filled balloon constructed from washi, a traditional Japanese paper, laminated in layers with konjac paste, a plant-based adhesive strong enough to hold pressure at altitude, approximately 10 meters in diameter, 33 feet of paper and glue, floating at 30,000 to 38,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean. Suspended beneath it, a ballast ring, sandbag weights, a pressure altimeter valve designed to drop ballast automatically when the balloon descended, and an incendiary and anti-personnel fragmentation payload. The program was built around a discovery. Japanese military meteorologists had identified the Pacific jet stream as a concentrated band of fast-moving high-altitude wind moving from Japan's coast eastward toward North America. The crossing time, 3 to 5 days. No guidance system. No pilot. No communication. Once released, each balloon belonged entirely to atmospheric mechanics. The program required no rare materials, no advanced manufacturing, no aircraft, no pilots, no fuel. It required paper, paste, and wind. Approximately 300 young women, mobilized from Japanese schools, assembled the balloons at facilities including the Kokura Arsenal. By the time Japan terminated the program in April 1945, approximately 9,000 had been constructed and released. 9,000 paper weapons, crossing an ocean, in silence. The first confirmed Fugo recovery in North America occurred in late 1944. The U.S. military identified the ordnance, assessed the construction, and understood the mechanism. The response was not an evacuation notice. It was a memorandum. The Office of Censorship's logic was direct and, within its own terms, defensible. Japan had no confirmatithat on the balloons were working. If American newspapers published accounts of landings even to warn the public, those reports would reach Japan through neutral country monitoring. Japan would know the jet stream delivery was functioning. The program would continue, possibly with different payloads, possibly aimed at population centers rather than forests. Wire services that received reports held them. Local newspapers that learned of recoveries through military contacts held them. The press compliance was, by any operational standard, complete. What it had also done, and no memo recorded this consideration, was to eliminate the only channel through which communities in the balloon recovery corridor might have received any warning at all. No public notice, no Forest Service alert, no civilian guidance of any kind. And Japan, receiving nothing, concluded by April 1945 that the Fugo program had produced no effect. 1 month before, the only people it would ever kill walked toward one on a mountainside in Oregon. Japan shut it down. That sentence should not be possible. It is documented. Military recovery records document 285 confirmed Fugo landings across the western United States and Canada. Some historians estimate the actual total closer to 1,000, accounting for balloons that came down in remote terrain without recovery. Oregon, Montana, Wyoming, California, Alaska, British Columbia. At least one ignited a forest fire in Oregon. Ordnance disposal teams operated at recovery sites through winter and spring 1945. In each case, recovery was processed within military channels. None of it reached public reporting. The balloons arrived without pattern, without announcement, and without any visible consequence that reached civilian awareness. They came down in the wilderness, in farmland, in the forests of Oregon and Montana. Some still armed, some having discharged their ordnance during the crossing or on impact. A few recovered essentially intact. To the American public, the western United States in early 1945 was undisturbed. To the U.S. Army, it was a dispersed field of recovered enemy ordnance. Hundreds of them. Landing with regularity. The silence held every time, which meant the people in the forests never had any reason to be afraid of what was already there. May 5, 1945, Gearhart Mountain near Bly, Oregon, Reverend Archie Mitchell drove with his wife Elsie and 5 members of his Sunday school group to a picnic site in the Fremont National Forest. The war in Europe was 3 days from ending. Japan would surrender in 4 months. While Mitchell parked the car, Elsie and the 5 children aged between 11 and 13 moved ahead into the trees. Mitchell later recounted that Elsie called out that she had found something on the ground. Then, the ordnance detonated. Elsie Mitchell and all 5 children died at the scene. Archie Mitchell survived. The object they had found was a Fuggo balloon, one of the 285 documented arrivals that had come down on Gearhart Mountain and remained there, intact and armed, until that morning. They had received no warning. There was no notice that Japanese weapons had been landing across the western United States for 6 months. No Forest Service alert. No military public guidance of any kind. The Office of Censorship's press suppression had functioned exactly as designed. No American newspaper had published a word. Elsie Mitchell and 5 children from Bly, Oregon, became the only confirmed enemy caused civilian deaths on the continental United States in the entire Second World War. Japan formally terminated the Fuggo program in April 1945. Elsie Mitchell and 5 children died on May 5, 1945. Between those 2 dates, 30 days, nothing changed about the ordnance already on the ground in American forests. The decision to terminate had followed months of monitoring in which no confirmation of impact reached Japanese intelligence. No American news report, no neutral country transmission, no intercepted communication of any kind. From Japan's operational perspective, the program had produced no effect. The conclusion was a failure. Japan would award the Fuggo program a failure designation. 30 days later, it killed 6 Americans. The censorship designed to end the program had succeeded. The program ended. The weapons it had already delivered did not. Japan would not learn that Fuggo had reached its target, that it had landed in 6 states, been recovered by military teams for months, and killed until after the war ended. The silence worked, all the way through. The strategic logic of the Office of Censorship's decision has not been seriously disputed by historians. If American news organizations had reported balloon bomb landings, that information would have reached Japan. Japan would have known the jet stream delivery was functioning. The Fuggo program might have continued, possibly with different targets, possibly on a greater scale. Against that risk, 6 civilian deaths in a single incident were not, in wartime terms, a measurable strategic cost. What the documentary record does not contain is any evidence that an alternative was ever considered, or any mechanism to warn specific communities in balloon recovery zones without disclosing the existence of the threat publicly. No such protocol was established. The suppression was binary. Between November 1944 and May 1945, Japanese weapons landed in 6 American states. The decision to say nothing about them was correct. And 6 people in Oregon had no way of knowing any of it. That is what the record shows.